So Warner Brothers, they are 110% feeling the heat and the pressure these days. Oh man, it is fun to watch too, as they go into full press damage control mode when it comes to Fantastic Beasts 3. See, less than a week after an insider, they dropped this bombshell here, not only talking about the morale on Fantastic Beasts 3, but non-disclosure agreements being forced on the cast where they couldn't talk about JD. You have Mads Mikkelsen once again breaking the silence, and the subject that he's bringing up, along with Fantastic Beasts 3, is a subject that he wasn't allowed to talk about before. Nobody was really talking about before. That subject is JD. Now, what's fascinating about this damage control is it reminded me of Jude Law when he was trotted out to do damage control, too. You'll remember that? He basically said, hey, this is the studio. They made that decision. We didn't make that decision, implying they didn't get any say in that whatsoever. Now, Mads, in my opinion, he takes that same approach, and this, it does two things. Number one, it does the damage control Warner wants, basically going out and making the statements. But number two, it says Mads had no problem with JD. In fact, he's probably like so many other people on that set. He thinks there was an injustice done, but he can't say that. Why? Because Warner, they've been clamping down on everything. You and I, we're going to talk about all of that. Fun times indeed. So hey there to all you fine folks. What's that? You notice the mustache? Shh, I'm incognito. Just call me that parasol Gary. Yeah, that's right, Gary. If you would, share Gary's video far and wide. Everyone deserves to see that panic. Also, feed that pesky algorithm. Likes, comments, it loves your attention. If you're subbed to Gary's channel, well, make sure you're still subbed. And if you haven't, well, Gary, he keeps the shiniest buttons, and you know you want to push them. So like I was saying, this damage control attempt here, it brought out Mads Mikkelsen. And Mads Mikkelsen, he was talking about quite a few things that he hadn't talked about before. One of those, it really stuck out, and that was the subject of JD. Now, as far as that interview is concerned, I always looked at it as damage control. Why? Because we heard nothing. I'm talking about nothing at all about Fantastic Beasts 3 until 6 days earlier than Mads Mikkelsen he started speaking. That day, we got this article here from Pop Topic. They were talking about the morale being low after JD was fired from Fantastic Beasts 3, with the atmosphere not being like Mads Mikkelsen was talking about. Oh no, this is what an insider had to say to Pop Topic about that. The atmosphere changed dramatically when we learned that JD would not be returning to set. The crew member disclosed. I know it sounds dramatic, but the first day of shooting without him really felt like a funeral. I think it felt that way because we, the cast and the crew, were given specific instructions not to talk about it. Basically, they weren't allowed to approach this. They weren't allowed to grieve. They had to pretend that none of this happened at all. Now, like I said at the beginning, on top of all of that, you have this statement added too. According to the insider, the entire cast and crew had to sign a non-disclosure agreement which stipulated that they were not allowed to discuss JD to media or at any press events. Now, like I said in a live stream, right after all of that transpired, you knew the damage control was coming, and well, the Hollywood Reporter, shill media, they never ever let you down. So you see, headline here. Mads Mikkelsen says he wanted to talk to JD after replacing him in Fantastic Beasts. I don't know what happened, and I don't know if it was fair, him losing the job, but I knew that the show was going on, and I would have loved to talk to him about it. The Fantastic Beasts star said of his casting following JD's departure from the franchise. Departure indeed. You love the language of minimization, right? Now, you can tell that it's supposed to be damage control too. Why? Because of the way it glosses over the past and really how it tries to hype up the present and the future. First of all, it talks about Mads Mikkelsen's complicated feelings over taking the part from JD, who announced his departure announced his departure. Again, look at how sanitary and how clean that sounds from the role in film last November after appearing in 2018's Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Now, Mikkelsen, for his part, he does damage control, but also he points the finger their way. He said they, he means Warner by that, let's just be very clear on that, called me, and they were obviously in a hurry. I loved the script, and so said yes. And I know it was controversial for many people, but that's just the way it plays out once in a while. Now, THR, for their part, they leave out things like Mikkelsen, he was out of work for months and months, so he needs a job, and they seem to try to point the finger at him, while again, he's doing damage control, but he's also pointing the finger back at Warner. Mikkelsen acknowledged that a replacement was inevitable as, quote-unquote, obviously they were going to do the film, and obviously he was not involved anymore, but he says, quote, didn't have a dog in the fight, and that he would have liked to touch base with the actor following his step back from the role. Now this here, I almost took hidden connotation from it. Why? Because Mads Mikkelsen is saying, I don't know what really went on. I don't know if it was fair to get rid of him and on, but I would have met with him. Would you really say that about somebody if you thought they were guilty of what was being said? Quote, I don't know what happened in his private life. I don't know if it was fair, him losing the job, but I just know that the show was going on, and I would have loved to talk to him about it if I had the chance, but I don't know him in that sense. Now, those statements, like I was saying earlier, remind me a lot of what Jude Law had to say, especially with this part of the statement here. In a franchise like this, it's the studio and the company that make the big decisions, and you have to go along with those because we're just a member of the team. Yep, obviously they were doing the film. I don't know if it was fair, him losing his job, but I just knew that the show was going on. Again, those things, they sound remarkably similar. Now, the other part of damage control, it is so insidious. Why? Because they know that you don't blame Mads Mikkelsen, so they utilize him as something for you to focus on. Forget everything else that happened. He's going to bridge this thing into his own, and you need to follow along. Why? Because it's not his fault, mind you, not his fault indeed. I think he's a masterful actor. Talking about JD, so copying him would have been creative. That word, not on this platform. I had to figure out something that was definitely my own, and yet also act as a bridge to what he had done. My take is different, and the look is different, but we'll have to wait for the film's release next year to find out. Again, focusing on him because they know that you don't blame him. If you do, what kind of terrible person are you? Now, let's be honest. The reason that Warner Brothers is panicking here is because they figured all of this would blow over. They figured you had the attention span of a gnat. They could do whatever they want, but they underestimated crew. They underestimated millions of people, and now they're on the hook for more money than they thought. They see people speaking out with no end in sight, and they know the only reason this worked out last time at all is because the guy they got rid of, he carried that weight. Oh, what a mess for them. But anyway, let me know what you think about this. As always, too, appreciate the heck out of you. You make this work, so thank you. Want to help out the channel? There are links in the description. They always help out, so check them out, and thank you. You matter, though. You being here, that does, so thank you. I appreciate you, and well, until next time, we will see you soon.